There has been an ongoing debate as to whether or not drug testing should be enforced in the workplace. Although drug testing at work may be costly, and people believe that drug tests infringe on employees' rights, employers administer drug tests to ensure their workers are safe and maximizing efficiency on their job. Employers should give out random drug tests during the job application process and randomly throughout their employees' careers. Those who fail must go under treatment and recover completely in order to be rehired or continue with their job applications.
Before I start telling you the pros and cons of drug testing, I thought I would give you a chemical reason as to why drug tests work. Chemically, a urine drug sample is dissolved in methanol, and a microliter of liquid is put into a gas chromatograph. This separates the components of a mixture. The drug then enters the mass spectrometer, which ionizes chemical compounds and creates charged particles and measures mass to charge ratio. This enables a scientist to detect several drugs in a sample. And there you have it.
Drug testing improves worker attendance, morale, job security, and safety. 75% of drug users are employed. In many workplaces that harbor drug users, stealing, blackmail, violence, and threats are frequent occurrences. These people that are involved with drugs change jobs frequently, are late or absent from work, are 1/3 less productive, are 3 times more likely to be injured on the job, and 5 times more likely to file workers' compensation. Drug testing improves morale and productivity and decreases accidents, crime, and laziness. Employers notice better health status and a decline in the usage of benefits once they administer a drug test.
People who are against drug testing argue that drug testing is expensive. Actually, the cost of drug testing was cheaper than expected when taking a closer look. The Corrections Department states that drug testing will cost around $1 million a year. The tests actually cost only $40,000 to drug test 400 employees. This is a small price to pay, considering the fact that treating an addiction can cost $100,000 a year. Because this treatment is so expensive, I would persuade companies to pick a deadline to re-administer the drug test to those who are in care. Those who pass will continue to their jobs, and those who do not are allowed to come to group support meetings after hours and asked to take the company drug tests once they are clean. In China, a proposal was put forth to distribute mandatory drug tests to their citizens. People who would fail would be put into treatment. Some argued that this infringed on their basic human rights and that the scheme lacked resources to help those who didn't seek rehabilitation. They also argued that if someone does not want to get better, they won't. The treatment would have been a waste of time and money. I don't think this system would prove beneficial for general citizens, but if employers use this proposal, it may benefit their employees. Workers would sign a contract when they are hired, clearly stating that workers are given drug tests. If they fail, they will go to treatment and return to work when ready. If they don't want treatment, they would be fired or not considered for the job. Maybe the incentive of a paycheck would encourage these drug users to change their behaviors. Another reason that workplaces should drug test is because trained professionals that are around medicine could suffer from prescription drug abuse. Colleges are teaching doctors about harmful drug side effects, but it should be taken a step further to decrease this easily attainable addiction, randomly administered drug test. This method would be highly favored by society. Since many of us have seen or will be seeing a doctor at some point in our lives, protecting doctors from harmful drugs will also protect their patients, potentially you, who may be harmed under their care. 44% of young men admit to using drugs in the past year and also state that they are entering the workforce. Although some may argue they have the right to privacy and that companies should fire workers based off of job performances, companies notice a correlation and a causation between job performances and drug use. Since drug use also increases injuries and hazards, many companies are not willing to take the risk of hiring people without the results of a drug test. Employers have the right to drug tests in exchange for paying their employees. Drugs impair performance and productivity. Drugs and alcohol abuse have cost companies a total estimate of $100 billion lost in productivity yearly. Employers also have a moral obligation to protect citizens and workers from drug abuse. Taking all precautions against drug abuse will help ensure a safer environment for everyone. The medical review officer has to evaluate a drug test. Even though employers aren't forced to drug test, they are highly encouraged to test a multitude of drugs, and most companies do. The federal government has a body of laws, rules, and regulations to protect workers. Now, some employees are testing drugs while employees are applying for occupations. The Omnibus Transportation Employee Testing Act of 1991 requires certain employers to have a drug-free workplace and drug tests often. Refusing to take the test will result in not being reviewed for a job, being fired, or being asked to seek treatment. People think this is an invasion of privacy, but the National Work Rights Institute in drug testing in the workplace gives states legal limits on drug testing. Some states don't allow drug testing during the application process, have strict laws that restrict drug tests, and require a second test if the first one indicated that drugs are present in the person's body. My solution would seek out a drug test before the person is employed, and I would require companies to randomly drug test employees. If the person showed positive results, they would have to seek treatment, and if that was unsuccessful, the person would be fired. Although drug testing at work may be costly, and people believe that drug tests infringe on employees' rights, employers administer drug tests to ensure their workers are safe and maximizing efficiency of their job. Employers should give out random drug tests during the job application process and randomly throughout their employees' careers. Those who fail must go under treatment and recovery completely in order to be rehired or continue with their job applications.